Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Mondays with Sherry Wherry. I'm Sherry Wherry, and I am glad to have you joining me on this evening. And we're actually kicking off a new series, which I'm pretty excited about. So, the first series that we had was talking about the power of boundaries. And so, it was a four-part series. You're welcome to go check that out either by looking at LinkedIn, although it might be a little bit more challenging to find it on LinkedIn. The easiest way to find it is to check out my YouTube channel, and you can find just the topic series with the Leadership Mondays. So, we're kicking off a new series again tonight, and the title of this particular series is going to be discussing just the impact of poor leadership. So, the title is Successful Harm: The True Cost of Poor Leadership. Successful Harm: The True Cost of Poor Leadership. So earlier this year, I actually did a training for the Chamber of Commerce here in my local area. And this is actually one of the points that I made with talking about how you can be successful and still harmful. And I think a lot of times when it comes to how we deliver services for organizations, whether you're a nonprofit or a corporation, an educational institution, or anything else, is that sometimes we can get blinded by the success and ignore the true impact of what is actually happening with the services that we're providing or the programs that we offer or the product that we're selling. And so the intention of this particular series is to really take a deeper dive into looking at just the impact of our success. And so there's a couple of different areas that I'll be talking about just over the next few weeks. Tonight, we're going to talk about the impact on staff. But then in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about culture, productivity, community impact, as well as external relationships. And that can include clients, funders, and other stakeholders as well. So, if you would like to learn more information about me and the services that I offer, as you can see, is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. You can always check out my website at sherrywherry.com. That's SHERRYWHERRY.com. All right, so let's jump into it. So, again, want to reiterate the fact that success does not mean that you are still not harmful. And sometimes that harm is unintentional, right? Let's call that out as well. Other times, the harm is allowed or permitted because of the fact that success is still there. And so I want to encourage everyone listening, especially those who are in positions of influence and power within the company or the organization where you serve, is to truly think about the impact of your leadership, the impact of the policies, the procedures that you have in place, and the impact that your organization has just in the community at large. So let's get into the impact then of poor leadership when success is the focus, as opposed to just looking at how to be successful as well as mitigating harm on your staff. So, one of the things that comes out of successful harm within organizations is that you have then distrust from the staff and the employees who are part of the organization or the company where you serve. And distrust is really huge when it comes to creating barriers and challenges that can really be overcome just by creating a culture of trust. Now, with creating a culture of trust, of course, we have to be honest about the fact that you can't tell everything to everybody, right? And so this isn't about being unwise in what you share, but building trust does require a certain level of vulnerability and transparency when it comes to leadership, whether that's middle management or it's the executive leadership or even, the board, if you actually are at a nonprofit. Is that it's important for there to be honest communication throughout every step of the way. Again, recognizing that there are some things that have to be told at the right time, but even with not being able to reveal all things all at once, still taking that stance of vulnerability, that stance of transparency, that stance of honesty, and really being grounded in ethics ethics and values and morals that promote the well-being overall of the staff and the organization is going to be really important. And so when there's distrust there, you're not going to have open communication, not just from leadership, but even from your staff. Your staff are going to not feel safe to be able to share not only what is not going well. They may not give you the full story, right? But they're definitely not going to be more likely to actually share when things are not going well. You're not going to get that honest feedback about how things are going and what their experience is. And so there's going to be a high level of distress when you look at poor leadership that only focuses on quote unquote success. The second thing you're going to see with the impact of staff who work in this type of environment is reduced productivity and innovation. You're going to see reduced productivity and innovation. And so with that reduced productivity, it's going to come at the cost of your bottom line. And so while in some ways you may be experiencing success, you're really not manifesting your full potential because of this reduced productivity. The reduced productivity comes from distrust, right? So we talked about that with the first step. So your staff or your employees are going to be second guessing things. It's going to take a lot longer to complete tasks because of that fear of retaliation or being reprimanded or just not getting the support from leadership to be able to work through when something doesn't go well. And so now, because everything is second guess, or because people are unsure or don't even feel like they have agency to be able to fully do their jobs, then you're going to have reduced productivity. And with that productivity, it's going to have an impact on innovation. And so innovation does require a safe environment for people to be able to take calculated risks. And so when staff are not in a position to take calculated risks because there's distrust and when they're second guessing everything and they're taking longer to complete tasks or projects or whatever is related to their particular job title, you see then a decrease in innovation. And when you have a decrease in innovation, this actually impacts your ability to be relevant to the clients that you are serving or to the community that you are trying to make impact in. The third thing that's going to happen under this type of leadership that prioritizes successful harm over the well-being of staff and just the well-being of the organization is that you're also going to see higher turnover. And I know for my HR professionals who may be listening in, higher turnover increases your workload so much more because you're constantly have to retrain and go through the onboarding process. But it's not just a cost on just those who are in HR, but it's a cost on every single department as well, because for every leader that has to continue to retrain for a position because staff continue to leave at a higher rate that's really necessary, it really is affecting your bottom line because now more time is being invested in something that really should only have to be done periodically as opposed to every few months or every single year, right? And so with that higher turnover, you're not then in the position for the organization or for the company to be able to produce at its highest level. Even though you are seeing some success, there's more success as possible because when you have sustained staff, when you have staff who are remaining there and continuing to grow with the organization, then you have people with the historical knowledge, but also with the capacity to be able to move the organization forward as well. And so higher turnover does definitely impact just your bottom line as well. The next thing you're going to see is just a lower job satisfaction just among your staff, is that staff are not going to be as excited as they could be when it comes to them, even wanting to come to work or even being at work and having a moderate or even high level of job satisfaction. And so the way that they operate, you're going to see the level of excellence even impacted, just generally speaking, right? And so with that lower job satisfaction, that's going to impact how then your staff interact with the clients and funders and community and anyone else that they interact with. And then lastly, you're going to then see a psychologically unsafe work environment. And this is huge. And you all know with me being in mental health, I had to bring this point into play. But when a workplace is psychologically unsafe, is that then you have staff who are definitely going to have mistrust. You're going to have lower productivity and innovation. You're going to have the higher turnover. You're going to have lower satisfaction. But you're ultimately going to have staff and employees who are operating out of fear as opposed to operating out of empowerment. And when you get to a place where your staff are operating out of fear, your organization, no matter how much success that you are experiencing, will never reach its highest potential. And so I'd like to encourage everyone who's listening to this to really take a second look at just how you're showing up and how there may have been some choices or decisions or policies that were implemented that prioritize success with ignoring the negative impact that it is having on the staff and employees there. Is that the well-being of your staff doesn't have to come at the expense of your bottom line. But I can tell you that not taking care of your staff definitely will negatively impact your bottom line. And so let's start having those hard conversations. Let's start having, those strategy sessions where we really look at what is success worth with our organization. Is it worth the cost of our staff? Is it worth having a psychologically unsafe work environment? Is it worth having lower productivity and reduced innovation and then subsequently affecting our ability to be relevant and impactful in whatever industry or sector that we're operating in? Hopefully you will say, no, it's not worth it. If you say yes, that's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had on a serious note. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this conversation on this evening. This is the first installment in this new series with talking about successful harm, the true cost of poor leadership. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Or you can even send me a private message, especially here on LinkedIn, or you can email me at sherry@sherrywherry.com. So thank you all for joining this evening. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing evening. And again, look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.